The Grand Ayatollah in Iran, which, by the way, makes me laugh every goddamn time I say it. What is with, I mean, you have to be a ridiculous person with a ridiculous ideology to, like, call yourself something like that. Like, with the KKK Grand Wizard, or whatever the fuck they call it, Grand Dragon, Grand Poobah, what is all this? And here's Grand Ayatollah. You don't feel ridiculous? You should feel ridiculous. Like this hierarchy and this fucking magical thinking tied to theocracy, and it's like, grow up. You're not, and in Iran, look, you're not fooling the younger generation. Iran is a very young country on average, and of course the younger generation is significantly more secular than the fucking dinosaurs running the country. But they think like, yeah, we got this shit on lock. You call yourself the Grand Ayatollah. Who does that? All right, sorry, I got it. It's annoying and it's funny. Okay, so the Grand Ayatollah in Iran gave some public comments to military commanders this week, and he basically took some direct shots at Trump after Trump went after him and Iran in general on Twitter. So this is what the Ayatollah said. Quote, he says we should be grateful to Obama. We should be thankful because he brought war and bloodshed to Syria and Iraq, and he supported the 2009 demonstrations here. That's what we should be thankful for. We are thankful to Trump for making our life easy as he showed the real face of America. During his election campaign and after that, he confirmed what we have been saying for more than 30 years about the political, economic, moral, and social corruption in the U.S. ruling system. Damn. Okay, so I have a lot to say about this. Now, as a general rule, far right-wing assholes embolden far right-wing assholes. So we have our own far right-wing loon in this country, Donald Trump, who's escalating tensions with Iran, among many other things. And that is going to empower and embolden the right in Iran, because that allows them, the Grand Ayatollah, to turn around to the moderates, like Hassan Rouhani, the president, and Khatami, and he gets to say to them, I told you, you don't make a deal with the great Satan, with big bad America, because they're not going to abide by it anyway. And by the way, that's actually true. I mean, well, not that we're great Satan, and not that they're good, but that we didn't abide by the deal. We violated the deal first. Everybody acts like, oh, Iran, they're the ones who violated it. We had just a few things we had to do. Don't sanction them and give them back their own money. And in return for that, the IAEA gets to go in there and regulate and make sure that they're not enriching uranium to a level that could be used for nuclear weapons. You know what we did? We slapped sanctions on them again. You get two jobs. Give them the money and make sure you don't do sanctions. They did sanctions. Congress approved it like 99-1 or some crazy shit. And they go, it's cool because it's symbolic. Yeah, and then so you fucking spit in their eye for a symbolic reason? That's even dumber. And so then Iran said, okay, you're going to violate the deal? Fine. Then we're going to do a missile test which violates the deal. And then when they do that, everybody in the U.S. clutches their pearls. Oh, I can't believe Iran violated the deal. Hey, bitch, why don't you give some context to the fact that we violated it first? No, never the context. Blame them. And then, Trump with his short fuse and the neocons in his cabinet and the State Department. Like, oh, we got to escalate now. Sad. Let's put them on notice. Yeah, great idea. So right-wing bigots empower right-wing bigots, and that's what's happening here. Now, furthermore, let's get more specific. So he's saying, to mock the idea, oh, we should be thankful to Obama because he brought war and bloodshed to Syria and Iraq. So, first of all, for the Iraq one, actually, yeah, you benefited from that. So, of course, I'm against the Iraq war, duh, and it was a horrific war crime, hundreds of thousands of dead civilians. We discuss this all the time. But understand, they overthrew Saddam, the Sunni Ba'athist leader in Iraq. Iraq and Iran, they had a war. They were mortal enemies. So you don't think Iran liked the Iraq war? They fucking loved it because we toppled the Sunni Ba'athist, and then eventually you got the Shiite in there, Maliki, you got the Shia. And then they had an allegiance with Iraq. So he's pretending, that's just a lie, that the Ayatollah's like, oh yeah, well, we should be thankful for what happened in Iraq. Actually, yeah, and you are, and your policies show that. So to a guy like him, it's like with Donald Trump. With Donald Trump, it doesn't matter what the Iranians do, they're bad because they're Iranians. To this idiot, the Grand Ayatollah, it doesn't matter what the Americans do, they're bad because they're Americans. Right-wing bigots empower right-wing bigots. So he brings it up like, oh, I'm supposed to be happy for Iraq? You are, you fucking idiot. You might be pretending not to be, but you are. Okay, and then in Syria, yeah. So the U.S. has been funding jihadists, and they've been funding, the Sunni insurgency against the Alawite, Shia Assad regime. So there is a disagreement there. And to the idea that, Trump is putting the real face on what America has been doing for a while, on that one, the Grand Ayatollah, again, I feel so silly saying that, he has a point. Because under Obama, we had 2 full-scale wars going on, 7 interventions total, 90% of the people killed by drones, not the right targets, assassinating American citizens, no due process, no habeas corpus. So a bunch of horrific things, but it is true that the left was asleep. Because, I don't know, Obama's our guy. So it split the left. It made half the left defend Obama no matter what, because right-wingers are so bad that it's like, well, let's just play defense. And then you had the principled left who was like, well, no, let's call out everybody when they do something wrong. I don't care what fucking party they're in. I care about the issues. But now with Donald Trump, you have this guy who's just kind of like, I'm just going to say it. So with torture, he's like, yeah, I'm going to torture. I'm going to torture. I'm going to bring back waterboarding. I'm going to bring back worse than waterboarding. I'm going to torture, quote, even if it doesn't work. That's what he said. I'm going to bomb the shit out of them. Talking about ISIS in the Middle East. We're going to take out their families. Talking not just about ISIS, but the families of terrorists. And I use terrorists in quotes because I don't trust his judgment to actually figure out who the terrorists are and then who their families are. And it's not okay to kill a family either way. You're killing civilians. That is terrorism. So he's right about that. Like when Trump does, we're going to ban people from these 7 different countries. Oh, look at that. They're mostly Muslim countries. Oh, look at that. There's a provision that says, let's favor Christians if we're going to let anybody in. So it is a de facto Muslim ban. Rudy Giuliani said, Trump called him and said, how do I do it legally? So when Trump does a Muslim ban, yeah, that puts the face, of the ugliness to the rest of the world. And remember, even under Obama, when they commissioned these polls, hey, who's the biggest threat to world peace? It was the United States, by far and away. So here you have this jackass, theocrat, authoritarian bigot, the Grand Ayatollah, who's making a point, and he's actually right about it, which pains me, man. Because again, when we act like right-wing assholes, and we go full speed ahead towards empire, and we double down on that position, you think you're being moral, you're not. You're being massively immoral, and the rest of the world knows you're a hypocrite and you're a liar when you say we care about human rights. And by the way, Saudi Arabia and Israel are our best friends. The permanent occupation state, the permanent apartheid state, and the fucking country that is ISIS that made it, with women as second-class citizens, covering them up. They can't drive, and they're bombing women and children in Yemen and hitting mosques and open-air markets and schools for the blind. We support the most vicious regimes. We wage illegal wars, and then we lecture the world about morality. So no, people look at that and they go, what the stop, it's so gross. And he's right when he points that out. But that's the thing is, if we act right, if we stop acting like this around the world, well, then we can rightly point at the fucking Ayatollah who has a theocracy that does oppress women and is massively, anti-liberalism and anti-freedom and anti-liberty. Then we can point it out, and we can do it with a clear conscience and say, look, we're acting right, man. We're not killing civilians anymore. We cleaned up our house. We did the right thing. We're unwinding the empire. We're looking out for our own people now. We're not causing havoc and mayhem around the world and jacking natural resources and whatnot. If we get our own house in order and we elect the right people here, well, then, of course it makes sense. We could point our finger at this guy and say, oh, you're going to criticize us, you fucking fool? You're going to criticize us. Remind me the state of women in your country, how oppressed they are. Remind me how liberals are treated in your country, how secularists are treated in your country, how Baha'i are treated in your country, how minorities are treated in your country. So I wish we had our own shit in order and we had the moral authority to still make these arguments, but unfortunately we're so mired in hypocrisy that it lands on deaf ears, and that's the point. So in some ways, the comment makes sense. In other ways, it doesn't. But either way, you have a vicious theocrat, far right-wing asshole critiquing our far right-wing assholes. I want to critique all the far right-wing assholes in all the different countries because they are fundamentally the main problem.